You know, I am so grateful to your parents for having you. And for all of the gifts that you bring, you know, knowing that they're the ones that raised you for all of that. So, and what?
They never knew a blind person ever.
Wow.
So it was a whole, interesting thing.
I bet, especially with you.
Yes. We're working on the enthusiasm.
Yeah, yeah.
We need to turn it up just I know.
Yeah. Yeah, if we could have a little enthusiasm, right? So happy Father's Day. Now, aren't these parent days kind of a mixed thing? I mean, Mother's Day and Father's Day. Because like Mother's Day, sometimes Father's Day can bring up some interesting emotions for us. Maybe because our father has passed. Maybe because he was never present in the first place. Maybe because we have, as parents, we don't have the kind of relationship with our children that we would like to have. But it can definitely bring up some interesting stuff for some of us. So for those of us with less than stellar fathers, we can open up to forgiveness. We can open up to forgiving, realizing that we're all on this human journey. Sometimes it doesn't look like we're doing real well, but we're all on this journey. And another thing we can do if we had those less than stellar parents is we can parent ourselves the way we would like to have been parented by them. We can care for ourselves. We can love ourselves. We can do all of these things for ourselves that if we didn't get it back then, we're never going to get it from them. So we may as well give it to ourselves and surround us with people that love us. Now, as parents, most of us do the best we can with what we have to work with. And I don't know any parents, any mothers, or any fathers that I've ever talked to, if any of you here, you can raise your hands, that don't have some regrets. And we get to do forgiveness there as well, self-forgiveness. Because, we have come here to learn and to grow and to evolve. And when we do it as parents, we usually get a chance to forgive ourselves for something. But then also, our kids often get more from us than we know. I mean, they often just pick up things that we weren't aware that we were sharing with them. And here's a little story about that. In the book, The Effective Father, Gordon MacDonald wrote, "It is said of Boswell, the famous biographer of Samuel Johnson, that he often referred to a special day in his childhood when his father took him fishing. The day was fixed in his mind, and he often reflected upon the many things his father had taught him in the course of their fishing experience. After having heard of that particular excursion so often, it occurred to someone much later to check the journal that Boswell's father kept and determine what had been said about the fishing trip from the parental perspective. So turning to that date, the reader found only one sentence entered. Gone fishing today with my son. A day wasted. And yet, on that wasted day, the kid got so much that he took with him into his life. So always know that we have given more as parents than we know, and how much our kids learn from us might actually surprise us. So our topic this Father's Day, is Fix It, Dad. Can you fix it? Can you fix it, Dad? Can't you just imagine a little kid holding up a toy and wanting it to be fixed? Now, I didn't have a father around to fix things when I was a kid, but I have known some great fathers, and some, like my ex-husband Brian, who could fix anything build anything, tree houses, play structures, whatever, and figure out how to do just about anything. And I know that there are some dads here that were able to do that as well, and still doing it for sure. What a gift, what a gift. And so Brian, I mean, he built stuff and fixed stuff and was really great at that, and until the kids got to be teenagers, and then, Dad just wasn't as smart anymore, and he certainly wasn't cool. But luckily, by the time they were in their 20s, he had recovered his intelligence and his talent, and it was a wonderful thing. Anybody can relate to that teen thing? Yeah. So even though it's 2017, many in our culture still have the belief that dads are the ones that fix things and moms are the ones that nurture. Well, we know that both do both. And especially in this day and age, it's so wonderful to see fathers, young fathers with their young ones that are really so much more involved than happened sometimes in the past, just the way the culture is. And so I know that women can fix things as well as men. I mean, when I grew up, my family of origin, my mother was handy and creative and could fix just about anything except the car, And somebody else had to take care of that. So I'm going to, though I know that both mothers and fathers fix things, I'll be talking a lot about fathers today. So can you fix it, Daddy? Can you fix it? Just imagine young children, now, when they're little, they most often want concrete things fixed. The doll whose arm has been ripped off, the truck whose tire is wobbly, whose wheel isn't working right, and so it won't go through the dirt right. And so can't you just imagine them reaching, Daddy, can you fix it? Can you fix it? I mean, who could resist that? A little kid wanting you to help them fix something. So Dad takes a few minutes and puts the arm back on the doll or fixes the little wheel on the toy truck, and the kids are amazed. They think it's a miracle. He is so smart and so powerful and so wise and so loving. And then the kid gets a little older and not too old yet. So now it's a tricycle that's broken. The spoke on the tricycle is all sticking out and it's not right. So Dad, can you fix it? Can you fix it? I mean, he can always fix everything. And so Dad gets on the computer and looks at YouTube and figures out how this is going to get done, and then borrows the spoke wrench and figures out where he can get the right kind of spoke, and turns the bicycle or the tricycle upside down and sends the kid away so the kid won't hear Dad swearing, and then fixes it. At last it's done, and once again the kid is amazed and delighted by this all-powerful Dad that can just fix anything. And maybe the kids learned a few extra colorful words as well. So the repair jobs get progressively more difficult as the child gets older. And then there comes a time when Dad can't fix it. Maybe the family dog or the family cat died. And the young one has to come to terms with the fact that Dad can't fix death. In fact, Dad can't even make it stop hurting. Or maybe they're at school and they face discrimination or the unkindness, and Dad can't fix it. And then their hearts get broken, absolutely crushed. And Dad can't seem to do anything about that either. Now, the best dads always offer the shelter of their love, as Karen sang about. But there comes a time when we realize that our parents, or us as parents, can't fix everything, even with our love. We can support, but we can't fix everything, even with our love. And of course, the idea that we can pray to God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, and have it instantly fix something is kind of just as hopeless on a regular basis as expecting our parents to fix everything. Because this thing that I call God or spirit, it's not the big fix-it daddy in the sky. It requires us to participate. It requires us. God can only do for us what it can do through us. It can only do for us what it can do through and as us. Certainly miracles happen all the time. We love them. But we need to be ready to participate in those miracles. We need to be ready to do our part. We can't pray for something and then just not listen to the guidance that we're given, or not take action when we are guided and led to take action. We actually have to do something. We have to be willing to be the vehicle through which the universe answers our prayers. We have to let Spirit work through us. And when we do, it is amazing. And we have to be willing to be accountable. That's our theme for this month, spiritual living through accountability. And we must be accountable, standing up for what it is we want to create. An example that comes from Dr. David Alexander of being accountable is us wanting God to fix the world, us wanting God to create a world that works for everyone. Here's what Dr. Alexander had to say. The moment we accept that we are created in God's image and are therefore the vehicle through which God's wholeness is revealed, is the same moment we must accept responsibility for any place in the world of effects where that wholeness is not revealing itself. Such conditions will change only when we change them. Conditions will change only when we change them. Now, I want to share with you how, I love hearing the kids, I want to share with you how our parent organization, Centers for Spiritual Living, the big organization, is being accountable by taking a stand in support of the Paris Climate Agreement, which our current president chose to back out of. And I'll be glad to share with you the entire statement and some things that you can do. I have a couple of websites that I think I'm going to put in the next newsletter. But here's part of the statement, and this is from Dr. Ken Gordon, who is the spiritual director of this entire organization, Centers for Spiritual Living. Dr. Ken says, "We believe that God acts through creation, not independently of it. Statements which have been made to the effect that God will take care of global warming fail to recognize that each of us individually and us as a whole are responsible for our own experience, that God acts through creation. If we want a green and verdant planet, we will have to act in ways which support that outcome. We urge our member communities to do what they can to be wise stewards of the climate and the environment in all phases of their operations, and to encourage members to do so in their homes and workplaces." He goes on to say, "Centers for Spiritual Living believes climate change and environmental deterioration are moral issues. And as a spiritual organization, we must take a stand. Climate change will affect not only our generation, but our children, our grandchildren, and all future generations of humanity, as well as other forms of life. We stand united with other faith communities in our call to care for the earth and to protect the poor and suffering." And so this is a call for us to step up and to be aware, because there are agreements that could be made, and whether those agreements are made on a national level or not, we have a responsibility to be accountable to each other, to our families, to Mother Earth, to our planet. So please be aware of that. And I'm really glad that our spiritual organization sees this as a spiritual thing and is willing to take a stand on it. Ernest Holmes said, "The only God we can ever know will be discovered within ourselves." The only God we can ever know will be discovered within ourselves. Any individual life is God manifesting in, as, and through that individual at the level of that person's awareness of God. Regardless of what we may have read or may have been taught, we can never meet a bigger or greater God than the one we can conceive of in our own thought. It's done unto us as we believe. And so God is as big as we can imagine it to be. Spirit is as full of love as we can imagine it to be. We are supported on our path as greatly as we can imagine we are. And so we can open up. We can open up to discern Spirit's greatest vision for our world, for what we want to see in our community, for what we feel needs to be fixed in our own lives. We can open up to Spirit for that. We can visualize and pray or treat and know that it's going to happen. And then, folks, we have to listen. We have to listen. Now, we can silently or out loud say to God, "Okay, God, Spirit, the universe, whatever you want to call it, show me what's mine to know here, what's mine to do. What am I supposed to be paying attention to? What action am I supposed to be taking?" And when we get that, then if we are going to be accountable, we have to do it. Now, don't worry if it's not a huge thing that you're called to do. We are called to do so many little things that make such a difference in people's lives, such a difference in the world. So don't worry if it's not a big thing. Just do what you're called to do, because you can absolutely trust that every little bit helps. In Science of Mind, we say treat and move your feet. Treat and move your feet. Pray and then act. Act on what you were given in prayer. But here I feel like I need to give a warning, just a little warning. And it's that it might not always be easy, and it might not turn out the way you think it's going to turn out. Oh, you didn't hear all of that? Okay. It might not be easy, and it might not show up the way we think it will. Being accountable, doing what's right, doing what's ours to do, isn't necessarily easy. Now, sometimes it is. I am always praying for ease and grace. Ease and grace, ease and grace. I have some friends who named their cats Easy and Gracie. And it's like, oh darn, they've taken those names. Because Mary and I are probably going to be getting more cats. The one we have left is very old. And those are such cool names, Easy and Gracie. But what we're called to do doesn't always come with ease and grace. Sometimes it takes a lot of courage. We don't always get our prayers answered exactly the way we think they're going to be answered. Has anyone else ever experienced that? Okay, yeah. I'm reminded of the chorus of a song written by Karen Taylor Good and Jason Bloom. The song is called What I Need. I prayed for strength, and I got pain that made me strong. I prayed for courage and got fear to overcome. When I prayed for faith, my empty heart brought me to my knees. I don't always get what I want. I get what I need. We can absolutely trust that when we are sincere in our prayers, when we are sincere in opening up to something greater, it will come to us in some magical and very interesting ways sometimes. We can know that whatever we are called or led or guided to do is important for us and that we are fully supported by the divine. We are absolutely guided by the intelligence of the divine. We are supported and sheltered in the arms of love, sheltered in the arms of the love of Spirit. And we're provided for all that we need by the absolute abundance of this thing that we call God or love. So just like we don't expect a human parent to be able to automatically fix things, we're not here as part of a big fix-it in the sky God. We get to participate. God can only do through us, for us, what it can do through us. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Are you up for that? Yes. Okay. As practitioners stand, let's move into prayer. I am so grateful that God does for us what it does through us. Grateful that that takes some of the responsibility off of us. We don't have to figure everything out. We can ask, we can be guided, we can follow, and watch the doors open. And so what I absolutely know is that this week, as each of us goes forward, it is into a path that is filled with reminders that we are loved, that we are supported, that we are parented, that we are cared for, that we are sheltered in the arms of love. And so what I claim for each one of us is that our minds are open and our hearts are open to be led, to be guided, to be shown how we can make a difference in the lives of individuals, in our community, and in our world by just being who we have come here to be, by just doing our part. And so I know that the world is absolutely blessed by each one here as we walk forward in love, in grace, in support. I know that because these words have come from my heart, because I have felt them and know them to be true, that means they have been released into this part of God that we call the law, that has all the stuff and all the know-how to manifest absolutely anything. And so that is our truth. That is what is being manifested on our behalf now and going forward. So in gratitude, as this is released, I simply say, it is done, it is good, it is very good, and so it is. So it is.